Dale. Assalamu alaikum, good evening everyone, hope you're all well. It's Mr. Ali with his Community Wellbeing Show, coming to you every Tuesdays from studios of Radio Aapki Awaaz. I hope you're well. I hope you're keeping cool as well. It's lovely outside, a bit too lovely for you to be working, but if you've got a day off or you've got time to yourself, then please make the most of this gorgeous weather that we're experiencing at the moment. And it's going to be like this until the weekend, so please make the maximum amount of time with your loved ones as well. In the meantime, please, in terms of getting in touch, we've got a very apt and very pertinent show today. It's all about one of the 5 pillars of Islam, Hajj, and one of our biggest favourite fans of this radio station, Brother Javed Akhtar, along with his family, is embarking on his obligatory duty as a Muslim. So we are going to be talking about that today. But before I do that, just remind you of the different ways you can listen to the studios. So as always, you can listen to us on various social media platforms such as Facebook and also YouTube. In the meantime, you can also download the following Garden apps such as Radio Garden app and Hindi Radio Online app. You can also listen to us on www.aapkiawaaz.co.uk. Alternatively, if you wish to dial in, the studio number is 0121 682 8142 as well. Before I introduce you today's guest, a very sad moment for a lot of people around Alam Rock and Birmingham with regards to Uncle Yasin, who has passed away. They were one of the initial community workers, community legends that used to give their time to Naseby Youth Centre. They were also part of the initial committee that set up the Al-Quran Masjid as well. And they were an iconic figure of Alam Rock, and sadly today they have passed away. And on behalf of Radio Aapki Awaaz, we would like to do a khususi dua, just get everyone to remember and reflect their time. And if you have any special moments or any special stories about Uncle Yasin, then please do share us on the chat. Alternatively, feel free once again to dial into the studio, which is 0121 682 8142 as well. And today we are going to be talking about one of the 5 pillars, as I mentioned. And to help me navigate and talk about and shed some light on this, I have Brother Sajid Yunis, who has come and helped me. So first of all, a warm welcome to you, Brother Sajid, to come into our studios as well, and also for the tea as well, Brother Sajid. Really appreciate that. I love my tea. We normally give our guests the kawa here, but I think you did the ultimate respect by going to a local shop here and getting some karak chai for us as well. So first of all, we have a mutual friend by the name of Javed Akhtar, who is embarking on his trip as well. So because of his connections and of his endorsement of you, we thought it was only right that you came into the studios and just talked about this. So if you can, Brother Sajid, just tell us about who you are and what you are, and how did you get involved with knowing so much about Hajj as well, please.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for inviting me. So I'm Birmingham born and bred,
Yes,
like yourself, and I've been here all my life, nearly 50 years, giving my age away there.
Yeah.
I've always been interested in religion, and since my early teens, I was lucky to get involved with the Sultan Trust in Sports League, where we were lucky to have Allama Rasul Baksh Saidi Sahab come from Pakistan in '93, and I spent 7 years studying with them. So one of their first students, and now they've got many students, especially around this Alam Rock area. And then started translating works, because all of our tuition, all of our studies were in Urdu or in Arabic. And then, but because we were English born and bred, we thought in English, we spoke in English.
That's right.
So we made our notes in English. Although we were reading in Urdu or reading Arabic or listening to Arabic and Urdu, we were writing in English. And then later on, a couple of friends said, if you've written all this stuff up, and why don't you type this up and make them into proper notes? And then from there, then we started publishing them for free, and then started moving up and started publication through that.
Wow.
And then
Wow.
through this Hajj thing, I went to Hajj in 2009.
Wow.
And my parents were going, and I thought I might as well go with them, and I'm glad I did, because one thing you do realise is that once the Hajj becomes obligatory upon you, so our brother Javed is going now.
Yes.
He probably left it 20 years too late. And why I say that is that as soon as Hajj becomes obligatory upon you, and the conditions for it to become obligatory upon you are that you have enough wealth or money to get there
That's
and back and spend. So once you've reached that amount of money, and you've got that money during the days of Hajj, so if you've got those monies other times of the year, but when the time of Hajj comes, you don't have it for some reason, then it's not obligatory upon you.
Sure.
It's got to be Hajj at that time. And then you've also got to have the physical strength to perform the Hajj. Now, obviously, the further away you are, like we are, then obviously you've got to think about, can I get there as well, and can I get back as well, to have the physical energy. So it's important that as soon as you do meet those conditions, you try and undertake it as soon as possible, because once it's become compulsory upon you, obligatory upon you, then you've got to do it. And then later on, who knows, you may run out of wealth, or you may not have the physical strength anymore, but that will still be upon you. So it's really important that once you do have the ability to do Hajj, you try to undertake it as soon as possible. Obviously now you've got the quota system now, which means that you've got but as long as you are making the effort from your side of putting your name forward, then if your name comes out, then it comes out. But as long as if it doesn't come out, then obviously then you haven't made the condition of being able to get there, because you physically can't get there because you won't get a visa. But at least you made as much effort as you can, so I think that's important. So when I went to Hajj in 2009, and we'll talk about preparations of Hajj, you wanted to make yourself physically ready for Hajj, mentally ready for Hajj, and spiritually ready for Hajj.
Yeah.
And the way I wanted to get myself mentally ready for Hajj was to read about the subject.
Absolutely.
So I came across many books about how the Prophet ﷺ performed the Hajj.
Oh, wow.
Now the Prophet ﷺ only performed one Hajj in their lifetime, and that was a few days before they passed away, because Hajj became obligatory in the 9th year of Hijrah. So the Prophet ﷺ passed away in the 10th year after the migration. And this happened in the 9th year of Hijrah. Allah Ta'ala made it compulsory. And some of the ulama said this was because the year before the conquest of Makkah took place. So because the conquest of Makkah hadn't taken place before that, Allah Ta'ala didn't make it compulsory upon the Muslims, because how could they do it when the polytheists, when the enemies of Islam were in Makkah Sharif? So how could they go there with safety? So it became compulsory after that. So the Prophet ﷺ took one Hajj. And the other thing was the Prophet ﷺ announced that I'm going to Hajj this year. And it's written in the books of history that people from all over the Muslim world came to Medina Sharif or to join the Prophet ﷺ. And they were saying there wasn't any space left in Medina Sharif before the Prophet ﷺ departed. And then they departed from Medina Sharif for the Hajj. So I wanted to read up on as much as I could. So as I said, I was reading a few things and then making my notes in English. And then in 2009, I took those notes with me and then reflected on them whilst I was there. It kind of gave me the historical background. And then when I came back, I thought people could benefit from this. So when we were in the camps, we were in the tents talking to people about it. So the following year, I had that book written up and printed, and that's in front of you.
Yeah.
This is a gift for you.
Oh, really? Oh, mashallah. So just to let everyone know, so the Prophet's Hajj. So those are sort of maybe in the last few days before you depart. Just so the Prophet's Hajj, how the Prophet performed the farewell Hajj, and the author is Mufti Muhammad Khan Qadri, translated by Muhammad Sajid, who's obviously here in the studios. And if I can take the liberty, Brother Sajid, I know there's people that are leaving, and if anyone wants to read this before they depart, with obviously our guests' permission, you're more than welcome to read it, because obviously Brother Sajid will also get the swab for it. I mean, inshallah, the studio and all the volunteers that run the radio station will also get a swab. So I will treasure this, and inshallah.
You were talking about Brother Uncle Yasin earlier on.
Oh, yes.
About the good works that he left behind. And this is part of our intention as well, because I know that nearly every year since 2009, someone's taken this book to Hajj with them. So that's a great favour of Allah Ta'ala upon me. That
Absolutely.
I know Brother Javed is taking the book, and our previous other brothers and sisters have taken the book with them to the Hajj. So you feel like so I feel like that, I'm there in spirit, or at least my works are there, being presented.
Yeah, and that must
give
give you a huge amount of satisfaction that.
So if people are leaving recently, obviously they can pick this book up from IPCI on Compton Road, and other Islamic bookshops, or from our website.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the whole purpose of today's show is for those that are thinking about it, or those that are fortunate enough to be departing for Hajj, is what practical tips can we undertake in order to make sure that we are physically able to carry out, because I've done Umrah, but I've never been Hajj. Inshallah, again, please pray that I go to Hajj next year. That what tips can we undertake to make sure that we physically are able to carry out the necessary fries for Hajj, and also at the same time that you are strong enough and healthy enough to carry out, because you're amongst millions of people, and is from different parts of the world. It's very easy for you to get an infection, for you to pick up a cold, any kind of a virus, potentially, stab your foot or your toe and get an infection, or, just become immobile. So the whole purpose of today was to talk about, a significant amount of time around what we can do before and also when we are in Saudi Arabia. So, Brother Sajid, if you were able to sort of please lead on this conversation.
I think to think about it in this way, that you mentioned this is one of the 5 pillars of Islam, one of the 4 compulsory acts, because Shahada is a belief, not an act.
Yeah.
You believe in it.
Sure.
But if you look at it, it's been described as the pinnacle worship that you can do, because all the other worships are come into it. Because one type of worship that you have is your belief.
Yeah.
So we believe in Allah Ta'ala, we believe that He is our Lord, and this underpins the whole of the Hajj. Because when you go and stand on the plains of Arafat, with 2 sheets on, your head uncovered. That's another important point about having the head uncovered. At that time, the Arabs used to keep the head, put a turban on the head or put Imam Sharif on the head and keep the head uncovered. And that was seen as a sign of honor and dignity. But when it came to the Hajj and the Ihram, they had to take it off. They stood in front of Allah Ta'ala, and obviously the bigger your turban, the bigger your Imam Sharif, and the more decorative it was, showed more honor and class that you had, or how much you thought of yourself. So that the Hajj talks about our belief. But then the second type of ibadah we have is physical ibadah, like we have namaz, or you have Saum, Roza, fasting. That's where you put yourself through physical
That's right.
effort. The third type of ibadah we have is sadaqah, zakat, that you give monetary ibadah. And if you look at Hajj, you have the belief, you have the physical element of it, much stronger than Roza, much stronger than prayer, and then you have the monetary element to it. It costs a lot of money to go on Hajj. Yeah. It's not just a question of getting there and back. If you've got responsibilities here, you need to have enough money for them to be sustained over that period of time. So it's a pinnacle of our ibadah. That's why you only need to do it once, because it's so difficult. And I think because and given the situations you've got now, you are probably going to end up doing it once now,
That's right.
which you may never get the chance again because of the visa system and the quota system. So you've got to make sure you make the best of it. And the thing that I was told, luckily from, again, part of our Islam, the Quran tells us, Kunu ma'a sadiqin, be with the righteous, be with the truthful, and also when you don't know something, ask the people who know. So you always ask people, and you should always have a teacher in every field, whether it's a worldly field, whether it's in business, or whatever, you have a mentor. Similar in religion, you have a mentor, you have a teacher, you have a sheikh, you have a ustad, or you have anybody who you look up to who can teach you. So before I went, somebody told me that get in the gym and build up your legs. Because if you get strong legs when you're doing the tawaf and stuff like that, and I realised that when I was doing the tawaf and you were getting pushed, because there's thousands and thousands of people, hundreds of people there.
Sure.
Especially if you want to do it next to the Kaaba Sharif, on the ground rather than the top. You do get pushed. And because I'd spent 6 weeks in the gym cycling and building up the legs, I tried it out. I just stopped, and people pushed me and I wouldn't move. The legs were so strong. But even doing that tawaf around the place, and especially if you go and do tawaf around the top, and there's so much walking during the Hajj, you've got to get your legs strong. So you've got to build up that. And even as a Muslim, at all points of time, you must look after your physical health.
Yes.
Because the famous hadith and the Sufi have said it doesn't befit a Muslim to have a large stomach. Because that just shows you're not physically active, you're eating too much. So you've got to always keep yourself healthy. And don't keep yourself healthy because you want to look good or you want to look good for the opposite sex or whatever. You want to look good and be good so that you can do your ibadat. The greatest ibadat that we have, it says in Muslim Sharif, that the closest time a person is to Allah Ta'ala is when he's in sajda. And you've seen when people get old or when they get weak, what's the first thing that they go? They read namaz, but they sit on a chair. They can't do sajda. They're deprived of that. The ultimate place of ibadah, they're deprived of that.
Yeah.
And have that as a notion in your mind, intention of that's why you're keeping yourself fit. That's why you're stretching. That's why you're keeping yourself healthy. That you can do this ibadah. And similarly, when you're going out on Hajj, make sure you physically prepared yourself, looked after yourself. The other thing I you read in the books of old was that people said when you go to Hajj, even when you're on a normal journey, but especially in the Hajj, and you're there. Don't eat too much, because as you know, when you eat a lot,
That's right.
you get ill. See how people when they go to hot country, they're in there having Burger King, McDonald's.
And you get lazy as well.
Yeah, exactly. So you keep yourself away from that. The other thing the ulama said, especially on the night of Muzdalifah, which is the night between the 9th and the 10th.
Yes.
So you go to Arafat in the day, we come on to that, then in the night you go to Muzdalifah, you've got to sleep outdoors. A lot of people go to sleep.
In a tent or?
No, those are out, there's no tent there. So you're just sleeping out in the open. And then, we went there, got there quite late, about 10 o'clock, and it's quite open space. Fell asleep. 2 hours later, woke up and people surrounding us. And there was just so many people there, which is, part of the experience as well. And also, we're not used to sleeping outdoors. It's a bit difficult trying to sleep. And you're sleeping on the floor. You're not going to have any mats or anything like that unless you take some. You're making things better now.
With our Western comforts.
Exactly.
No, absolutely.
But the ulama said, don't sleep on that night if you can. Because it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. This is a special night. You're on that special plains of Muzdalifah. Don't sleep. And if you're physically strong enough, then you're not going to sleep. If you've been lazy before you went out, so before you go out, do build up your physical energy and your reserves so you can put as much effort in as possible. Sleep as little as possible as you can, but obviously look after your health. But try and sleep as less as you can. And because you want to be out there, when you're in Makkah, actually, you want to be doing as many tawafs as you can.
Yeah.
And if you're not doing tawaf, you want to sit in front of the Kaaba, actually, you want to look at it. You want to look at it is ibadah. Looking at it, making dua is the most important thing you can do.
Yeah, thank you, Brother Sajid. A couple of comments come through. First of all, Ayub, walaikum salam, and brother who just had a heart attack a couple of weeks ago. May Allah give you shifa and make a speedily recovery. Khyber, how are you, my brother? Yeah, very sad day today with the passing away of Uncle Yassine. Uncle Yassine passed away, a great ambassador to the community. Absolutely, well said. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant him Jannah in the highest ranks and will sadly be missed. Ameen. Oh, mashallah, Brother Jubair Akhtar. I think he's in Saudi now, I think. Oh, please tell us where you are, Salah. Brother, look who you got in.
He's on the 15th, so maybe he's still here. He's on the 15th, he was flying out.
Oh, okay.
Unless he's flown out already.
No, sorry, he's going tomorrow, isn't he? I think tomorrow. Sorry, for some reason I thought you had gone, you were departing today. So sorry, my bad. So yes, just to sort of pick up on the first point about strong legs, Brother Sajid, my late father, may Allah forgive their sins. When they went to do Hajj now, going back probably about 25 years ago, again, be like yourself, my brother had no sort of intention of going. My dad asked him first, my older brother, he goes, "Do you want to go? Me and your mom are going." And he said, no. So mom and dad did all their paperwork. And then literally a couple of weeks before Hajj, when they're about to depart, something came into his head. He goes, "Dad, I want to go. Is that okay?" He goes, Of course. So Dad, last minute did everything. And there were a couple of other young relatives there. And they said, "Look, we're going to do this, we're going to do that." I said, "Look, you know what? It's a marathon. It's not a sprint." And these were taxi drivers. And within the first Umrah that they did, and because it's a marble floor, tough floor, their legs and their feet swollen up. And the rest of the Hajj, everything had to be done on a wheelchair. So when they came back to the hotel, my dad was laughing. He goes, I thought that you guys were going to look after me, but it looks as though we're going to be looking after you. So, if you haven't been there, it is, physically quite demanding as well. So what was said, let me just read a couple of comments by some of the listeners as well. Salam, Mr. Ali and Sajid Yunis. This is by... going Hajj tomorrow, inshallah. Absolutely, Adwada with you. So please, Sajid, you carry on, please.
Yeah, as Javed just mentioned, is going after Hajj. One of the things you need to do is and one thing you've seen in our traditionally, our forefathers used to do was that they'd go around seeking forgiveness from people.
Absolutely.
So that's another important concept in Islam, that, the Sufiyah said, Allah Ta'ala will forgive you.
Yeah.
But until the human beings forgive you on the Day of Judgment, you won't be able to move.
That's right.
So, and then, you'll have to compensate them with your own deeds. You're not careful. Therefore, we go around and you're asking people for forgiveness. It also shows humility, that you are, because, asking forgiveness from human beings is something that a lot of us don't want to do because we're arrogant, but you want to make sure you do. You also then you seek forgiveness, not forgiveness, you seek permission from your parents as well. Especially, if they're not well and there's nobody to look after them, then you should, stay behind and look after them, especially if it's not obligatory upon you. Some ulama said that obviously if Hajj is obligatory upon you and this is your only chance, then you should go.
Yeah.
We should always seek their blessing because, whatever you do, you want your parents' blessing because there's great du'as in that. There's a great benefit in that. The other thing our people used to do was that if they owed a debt, they paid that back before they went away.
Sure.
Nowadays, people don't care, but in the old days, they did. Part of that reason was because the journey was so long and hard, there was no guarantee you're going to come back. Even now, there's no guarantee you're going to come back, especially your age. And we do, as you mentioned about the infections, you might get there. But in the old days, where people were travelling by road or travelling by boat, there were chances, you might get murdered on the way, you may get lost on the way. So they would always give that there. Now, if you died with a debt, then obviously you're going to have to recompense people on the day of judgment, aren't you? Therefore, you give all of that away. So you're going to clear up all your affairs and try and get them done. And that's something you see from our culture, which is slightly wrong, was that people would say, after I've done all my zimmerdari, after I've done all my files, after I've done all my responsibilities, so they say I'm waiting for my kids to get married off. When they're all married off, then I'll go. But at that time, you're too old. And you'll notice that when people have gone to the Hajj, they'll notice that most people from India or Pakistan, Bangladesh, they're really old. But you see people from Africa or other countries, they're quite young. And then, so that just shows kind of different mentality that our people had.
In terms of Zimmedariyan, or that I'm going to get even more religious,
exactly.
Pakka with the namaz, and you know what? Who knows when that day
exactly,
will
you should
come?
never know that.
Yeah, you know what I mean? I've had that as well, and sometimes you're thinking, maybe this is the point where you will start becoming more religious rather than the other way around, because
you've got to prepare yourself to go out there.
That's right.
Because what you will find is that a lot of people went out there and nothing happened.
Yeah.
Because I went there, God, I didn't feel anything. Now, why couldn't you feel anything? Because your heart was already stained. So you got to prepare yourself and clean yourself to go out there. It's a bit like, you got to prepare the soil just to plant something.
Yeah, that's right.
Now, if your soil is already weeded and dirty, doesn't matter how much rain you throw on it, how much seeds you throw on it, it'll just sit on the top and wash away. And so that can happen out there. So you want to prepare yourself. You want to start praying before you get out there. You want to start thinking differently, because just by going out there, that's not going to transform you unless you really reflect upon it and you realise what you're doing. And the thing that made me kind of really struck me was going out there and realising that I'll be doing sajda at the place the Prophet ﷺ did sajda. I'll be walking in the footsteps of the Prophet ﷺ. The Prophet ﷺ walked there. All the other prophets walked there. So Ibrahim al-Islam walked there. Ismail al-Islam walked there. When you're going between Safa and Marwa, Ibrahim al-Islam went there. The Prophet ﷺ walked there. Sayyidah Hajra. And you realise, what she must have been thinking running between those two mountains looking for water for a child.
Absolutely.
And you realise that, how blessed are you to be standing in those footsteps, standing in those places. Yeah. And that, as you said, Allah Ta'ala put that thought in your brother's heart. These things don't just, these aren't from ourselves, these are from Allah Ta'ala.
Yeah. And you're thinking, am I worthy to be in the same spot? And, it just, like I said, gets you all tingly.
That's what should humble you.
That's right.
And then there is something about when you first sight in the Kaaba Sharif, and the Prophet and the ulama said the Prophet ﷺ would always enter the Kaaba Sharif from the door that was known as Bab al-Salam. So there's, if people have been now where the clock tower is, where the Prophet ﷺ's birthplace was, from that side, you come into Bab al-Salam, and the ulama said it's because if you come through Bab al-Salam, you come from a low place up. So when you're looking at the Kaaba, the first time you'll be looking at the Kaaba, your eyes will be looking upwards anyway, because you're coming from a low place. And also the door of the Kaaba is that side. So you'll see the awe and the majesty of the Kaaba more from that side. And that's the way the Prophet ﷺ went. And when the first sight in the Kaaba Sharif, that's a great time to make dua to Allah Ta'ala. So, just seeing the Kaaba Sharif, should make the awe that you've been thinking about, that you've been praying towards this all your life. And here you are looking at that. And are your eyes really worthy of that? Some people, you say that, I dare not touch the Kaaba because am I worthy? Am I pure enough to be touching that?
Yeah, absolutely. And just, if we can just ponder on some of the words that Brother Sajid is coming out with, and, just, some of the words aren't just adequate enough to sort of, describe where you are, and, and the fact that, many years ago the prophets were there, and now you're fortunate enough to be there, with all our sins and with all our weaknesses and frailties and with all our stains, should we say, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive us and give us all an opportunity as well, and experience what Hajj is, and maybe that be the turning point for all of us. Sorry, carry on.
No, it's like the Kaaba Sharif, you see that Hajar Aswad, that you see the black stone. If you realise the black stone is from paradise, you're touching something or seeing something of paradise. How blessed can you be? How blessed are your eyes? If you're able to touch it, you can't touch it now because you've got the glass covering over it, but just being able to see or being close to something that's been there something the Prophet ﷺ touched, something the Prophet ﷺ kissed. What more could somebody want?
Absolutely, absolutely. What about intention, Brother Sajid? I know one of the key things when we do anything in Islam is having the intention, and a lot of times, people have the intention, but they aren't able to carry that out. How important is it to make that sincere intention that you want to do this act for the right reasons, and how would you go about making that intention? Do you ask for the prayer as well to for Allah to bring you to their house and so on? So just give us a bit more information around
every book of hadith that you will pick up, Imam Bukhari, Imam Muslim, all the other books of hadith, the very first hadith that all of them mention is innamal a'malu binniyat, that all the deeds are based on the intention. That everything to do with every deed is based on its intention. That's the soul of every deed. So similarly, when you want to do Hajj, you've got to have the right intention. You've got to make the intention for it. So you're doing it for Allah Ta'ala. You're doing it to please Allah Ta'ala. You're doing it because Allah Ta'ala commanded you to do it. And you're also doing it that hopefully becomes a means to your salvation. Hopefully becomes a means to you changing your heart, changing your character. And then you should always make dua to Allah Ta'ala that, take me to your house, give me the ability to do that. But you make the intention that as soon as I get enough money, as soon as I get the physical strength, I will go next year. And you make every effort physically. There's no point just making the intention at home saying, I want to go. You've got to physically put that into action as well. So do put your name forward. Do make sure you've got the savings set up. And if for some reason you can't go, we believe that Allah Ta'ala is so merciful that He will see your intention, see that you did everything you could. And you don't know, He may give you more rewards in Hajj. Because that's Allah Ta'ala's, benefit. How Allah Ta'ala is merciful, how Allah Ta'ala is gracious. He could give you so much more from that. So make the intention that you want to do for the right reasons. And be ready. Keep yourself physically strong. Keep yourself healthy. So when you're turning away something like, you're not having those late nights up, you turn away that chicken and chips and you turn away that doner kebab. Because your intention is that I need to stay healthy because I need to go to Hajj. And you see how much barakat Allah Ta'ala will put into your life and to your wealth because you're doing that.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah, Brother Javed, after all those social exercises, the walks around the park with your family, I think that will pay dividends as well. So in terms of now you're there, what sort of, in fact, when you're packing your bags up, Brother Sajid, in terms of medication, in terms of sort of stuff that you need to take, can you just sort of give us those sort of practical tips as well, please?
I think it's changed now a lot since we went and obviously when your father went and people before that, because things are different now. Now you're going into quality hotels. In our time, we went into basic
five-star.
We went into rooms with 8 or 9 people in there, which to be fair had their own kind of novelty and had their own experiences. We were sleeping with people, different people. We were like, and you realise, and one thing that it teaches you is patience.
Absolutely.
There are a few times, I nearly lost my temper with people. You control yourself because you realise where you are, what you're doing here, and it's all about testing your patience. For example, you'd come back from doing the dua, or you come back from Masjid Nabawi and you're sleeping at night, it's like 2 o'clock in the morning kind of thing. And then you're just falling asleep and then some other roommate comes in and start going, Allah, Allah, Allah. And thinking, come on, be quiet. He goes, I'm doing zikr, what's wrong? What's wrong? Is we sleeping here? And basically, etiquette does tells you that, people are sleeping, you don't recite loudly. But people don't understand. They think they're doing something really good. So you get that kind of experience when you're out there as well. But you need to think about, obviously, your own personal situation, what you want to take, how many days you're going for. Because although you'll be in Ihram, so there's 2 types of Hajj that our people can do. So you make the intention. So one is that you put your Ihram on here, or before you get to there. If you're going on a direct flight, they put it on before you get on there because you want time to change. If you're stopping off in Dubai or Turkey, they could change there. So you make the intention of Umrah. So a lot of people, when they're going earlier and they're going to Makkah Sharif first, they'll do the Umrah in the Ihram, they'll come out to Ihram because they want to complete the Umrah. Then they've got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 days to wait until the Hajj starts, which starts on the 8th of Zulhijj. Depending on where you get to. Like Brother Javed, I think Brother Javed is going to go to Medina Sharif first, but if they went to Makkah Sharif first, he'd do his Umrah straight away, and then he'd come out to Ihram and then spend 8, 9, 10 days in normal clothing. So obviously he needs some normal clothing, depending on the season. And the best clothing, as I'm concerned, is your salwar kameez. It's so light, Don't be there with your trousers and jeans on.
It's loose as well, isn't it?
Yeah, and just quite loose, it's relaxed. And you get them, so maybe you don't need to take too much because you get them washed every day. They will be hot, you will sweat a lot, so you may want to take some change your clothing and stuff like that. So make sure you take that. Take your toiletries, your medicine, your moisturizer and whatever, because it will get dry. especially in your feet. Your dry feet will get dry, so if you're taking any more, you
In
must
terms
take
of footwear, Brother Sajid, so,
during the ihram,
something called a white chappal, isn't it?
Because when you're in ihram, so basically in ihram, a man can only wear 2 white sheets.
Sheets, that's right.
So one you put it around your waist, a bit like a sarong,
Yeah.
or dhoti as you were called,
Dhoti.
and then you have one cover sheet on the top.
Yeah.
And that's what you do. And out of modesty, you shouldn't be walking around bare chested.
Sure.
Because, as Muslims, we're modest.
Yeah.
There's lots of women there, other men there. You shouldn't be
right.
walking around showing off your muscles if you've got or your beer belly if you've got it's it doesn't look good. So you do keep yourself covered as much as you can. And when you do your dwaf, you do then uncover your right shoulder. But that's all you have on. You have the 2 white sheets on. You keep your head uncovered as well. And similarly, your feet should be uncovered at the top of your feet. That's why you wear that kind of slipper.
Yeah,
if you want, because as a bare minimum, the hump part of your foot at the top needs to be uncovered.
Sure.
So that's why you don't want that. But once you come out of ihram afterwards, after you perform Umrah, you wear whatever you want.
Yeah.
But obviously, when you're going into doing the dwaf and stuff in the mosque, you've got to take your shoes off.
Yeah, that's right.
That's where it gets a bit difficult, where you have your empty feet on. So you want to do it through that way.
Yeah.
So you take all that stuff with you, take as much as you need. I took lots of Lucozade bottles because I thought, in case keep your energy levels up, maybe take some protein bars, stuff like that. Don't take your protein shakes because the heat, they might go off.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I do take Lucozade, do take stuff like that. Because, especially during the days of Hajj, if you haven't got a package which is giving you food 2 or 3 times a day, you're going to struggle to get in the last few days of Hajj because there'll be so many queues and stuff like that. And also the quality of the food isn't that good. Especially if you go to like Indian, Pakistani restaurants that they had in the old days. Fewer now, but they're just full of teal, full of oil.
Yeah.
You don't want to be eating McDonald's every day and fries
a lot of these, I think they're the Saudi franchises, isn't there?
Yeah.
It's just the UK fried chicken type.
Exactly.
They're also.
It's not that good. That heat.
Yeah.
That's you want to be sick. So maybe So I took like Snickers bars, some decent chocolate bars, etc., stuff like that.
I've had a question come through. Walaikum salam, Bhai Mirza ji, ठीक हो. Are you allowed to scratch yourself if required when in state of ihram?
One of the things you can't do in ihram is cut your nails.
Sure.
Remove your hair.
Yeah.
So if you need to scratch yourself at a point where there's no hair, it's fine.
Yeah.
If you scratch yourself to the extent the hair falls off, then you have to pay a penalty.
Oh.
So yes, you are allowed to scratch yourself in ihram.
Yeah.
But you must make sure that no hair falls off.
Rub yourself.
Yeah, that's why when you are doing wuzu and stuff like that, you have to be very careful. Some of the ulama in the books have said that for men, shave your head off before you go. You can't shave your beard off, but shave your head off. Remove your hair and your armpits and your navel, all that, so minimise it. But you can scratch yourself if you need to.
Okay.
You can't put perfume on. You can't smell perfume on. Again, I was thinking, why not? It'd be like why you have your head uncovered. Is that you're standing there before Allah Ta'ala in 2 white sheets. Now, perfume, you get perfume for £1, you get perfume £500.
Yeah.
And that can show your quality or your worldliness. And there, everyone's supposed to be equal. And it's your bare minimum that you're there. And also, it's what you are. You've left all your designer clothes at home.
Sure.
You've left all the paraphernalia of the dunya at home. And sweet fragrance is part of it. You left that at home. You're there as what you are. You're there in the open, in 2 white sheets and there to be seen.
Yeah.
And the other thing about you're not allowed to wear perfume, you might say, what about if you smell?
Deodorant?
No, you can't put any deodorant, nothing like that. No, nothing like that. Again, coming back to the point about being healthily fit, your sweat comes from what's inside you.
Sure.
If your body's full of toxins, you'll smell. There are people who don't smell much, who don't give a smell off. The Prophet ﷺ always had the musk fragrance coming from them, even though they never put the perfume on. People would touch the hand of the Prophet ﷺ and their hand would be fragrant for weeks and weeks afterwards. When the Prophet ﷺ used to walk through a pathway, that pathway would be so fragrant that people would tell the Prophet ﷺ to walk past it because it was so fragrant. And that's not because he put any perfume on, that's because his body was so pure. And the ulama have said that depending on your deeds and physically what you've been eating, you won't sweat or smell that much.
Interesting.
And that comes out through that. So again, look after yourself. That will show on that day how good you are and how strong you are and how physically clean you are. So
absolutely. A couple of more questions come through as well. So I'm going to give you time to obviously talk about the book.
No, that's fine. This is all part of that.
Yeah. I've been told you can't speak when in state of ihram.
No, you can speak in ihram because it's a long journey.
Yeah.
So coming back to the early point, I'd say there was one type of ihram where you put the Umrah ihram on.
Yes.
Take it off after you've done your Umrah.
That's right.
Spend the rest of the days in normal clothing as a normal person. You can scratch yourself, you can put perfume on, you can shave yourself, do whatever you need to do. And then on the 8th of Dhul Hajj, you put your ihram back on again. However, there's another one which is really much more virtuous but very difficult, which is that you have the same ihram on that you left home with, all the way through to Hajj. That means after you've done the Umrah, then if you've got 2, 4, 6, 8 days, you still stay in ihram through all that period and go through the rules. And the hardest part I found was the ihram itself, staying in all the conditions that you need to wear. But when you're lying down, make sure you haven't covered your head off, or especially like men whose hair's falling out. You get up every morning and you find hairs on your pillow, kind of thing. Or when you're having a shower, you be careful that hair doesn't fall out because it's naturally, so you need to be very careful. So you are allowed to talk. You're allowed to talk during Tawaf as well, only if it's religious matters. You should be doing your dua and stuff, but you're not allowed to do worldly talk. But no, during ihram, you have to talk because such a long process.
Keep it to a minimum, but and also
don't swear. You shouldn't swear anyway, but swearing during ihram is even
remember
worse.
why you're there. Just a couple of other sort of miscellaneous. What do you do if you perform in Tawaf, you break your wuzu? Do you have to start again or carry on from where you left off?
Similarly with namaz, if you break your wuzu, don't talk, don't do anything that isn't good. Go do your wuzu, come back, carry on where you carried on. Similarly with that. But maybe start that particular lap. You got to do 7 laps. Maybe start that lap from the start again, because you don't know where you may have left off, just to be sure. You don't have to start again, and you shouldn't really start again because there's so many other people there. You're going to cause yourself some issues.
I hope these are useful answers for you guys. Someone told me if your wife hair is showing, you can't tell her off during the state of ihram.
Yes, you can. For women's ihram, they wear normal clothing. So stitched clothing. They don't wear the two things like us.
No.
So they wear normal like trousers, shirt, and they cover their hair. So they must cover their hair as well, as normal rules are. To cover that, but they must keep their face uncovered. So if the hair is showing, you tell her to cover your hair. Another point that ulama mentioned, and I saw this myself, and unfortunately I think there were some reports written about 10 years ago, and you see this around the world happening, is that women get molested there as well. And you think, why would you do that? But people steal shoes, people pocket jewelry.
Sure.
So there's always dodgy people there who turn up there, who will do dodgy stuff. Ulama said in the old books that when you do tawaf, and I did this, you put your hands here. Why you put your hands against your chest, for people who can't see me? You put your hands against the chest.
So here,
Don't put your hands on this side when you're doing tawaf, because when you're doing tawaf, unlike in prayer where men and women are separate, men and women are next to you. They're walking past you, and your hand could touch a woman, and you don't want to touch a woman. The Prophet ﷺ said, it's better to be hit in the head with an axe than to touch a non-married woman. So you want to keep your hand up above there. Especially like us especially like me and you, who are quite tall, our hands will be touching some sensitive parts. We're not careful of women. And women are quite sure. So you must keep your hand up there. Don't allow women, don't touch women. And the ulama said, don't look at women's faces. Because these might be women who cover their face all the time. But here, because of Allah Ta'ala's command, they've uncovered their face. And realize who these people are. They've uncovered their face on Allah Ta'ala's command. So if you violate that sanctity, you violate the sanctity of Allah Ta'ala. So you mustn't look at women, you must keep your eye gaze lowered. And similarly during the tawaf, you're not supposed to look at the Kaaba Sharif.
Okay.
Just look down. Don't look to the side, look down and walk around it. Again, if you're looking at the Kaaba Sharif, this on the side, you're walking around it, you're going to bump into people, you're going to hurt people.
Sure.
So be a bit careful. The other point is also think of the etiquette of people. You're there to please Allah Ta'ala, and you'll see people fighting over to touch the Kaaba Sharif, pushing people out of the way. And you're thinking, you're not going to please Allah Ta'ala by pushing elderly people out of the way, other people out of the way. There's women in the way. You probably will get more reward by standing back and saying, I'm not going to be part of this because this is breaking all the rules. So on the first few laps of the tawaf, the first 4 laps of the tawaf, men are supposed to walk fast, strut, with that pace. You see some people running. You think there's people around, you stop running and hurt people. So think about it now. See, you walk with the pace compared to the people. Now, there's lots of people there. You need to be considerate of other people. There's a famous hadith, the Prophet ﷺ in Bukhari Sharif, that a man who used to lead people in prayer, and he prayed really long prayer, Isha, and people come and complain to him, saying, we've got to go work in the morning, we've got to hit the fields in the morning. This person really long. And the guy said, well, I'm reading Quran, what's wrong with you? And the Prophet ﷺ, make it easy for the people. Consider the people. You want to read more, read for yourself. Always consider the people. So always consider the people when you're there. And there's another hadith, famous hadith, where the Prophet ﷺ looked at the Kaaba Sharif and said to it, you are very, very honourable. But the honourable Muslim is much more honourable than you. The honourable Muslim is much more honourable than the Kaaba Sharif. So you're trying to treat the Kaaba Sharif, but you're defiling another Muslim, especially another Muslim female or another Muslim elderly person. So you've got to bear that in mind. You're going there to increase your deeds, not to destroy them.
Not to destroy them. No, most definitely. MashaAllah. I hope this is good. I remember when I went to Umrah, the thing that really was sort of frightening me was those coolies equivalent, whereby they were pushing a wheelchair.
Yeah, be careful though.
And those, they just don't look, they just push you, and you think the last thing you want to obviously do is cut your feet or, let it go over you. And I was thinking, guys, just take it easy, man. I don't want to get injured, and I don't want to say anything, but sometimes they were very close.
That's what I mean.
So,
and you find that people from other countries, I won't name other countries, but they just push and shove other people.
That's right.
They have no respect for other people, and you're thinking, what are you here for? That's why you do the preparation. You need to understand what you're there for, what what the rules are, what the etiquettes are of this.
So, Brother Sajid, this is an unfortunate thing that has really crept up, I would say, in the last maybe 5 years or 10 years even maybe, is people going on Hajj, and when they're doing their tawaf or anywhere else, is doing a quick selfie. Obviously you want to share people, your story or your journey, your experience with your loved ones, but there's a time and place for it. Is that a big no-no at all during Hajj?
Yeah.
Just
again, as I said, you're not supposed to talk to people during the tawaf. The only thing you could talk about is like you're in prayer. Effectively, you are in prayer.
Right.
So, but it's a different type of prayer. You're walking and you're making dua. This is the time to making dua. What are you ringing people up for? It's like, again, you're there to kill your nafs, your ego. Because I said, you take off all your clothes, you take off all your paraphernalia of the dunya. You're there in 2 white sheets. That's all you are. Yeah. It's you, on 2 white sheets. So why are you telling people I'm here for? Why are you showing that for? What are they going to get from that? And you should be focused on what you're there for. There's a famous hadith, you probably heard of it, where Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu had a spear stuck in him, and he said people couldn't take it out, it's so painful. He said, let me start the prayer, then you take it out, because I'll be so engrossed in my prayer.
Wow.
And that's what you should be in dua. You should forget about the dunya, you should forget about the whole world when you're there. That's why part of going, before you go out there, you settle your affairs straight, you make sure your family here and everybody else are sorted out. So when you're there, you can forget about them, you can totally focus on what your mission is there. You'll never be back there again. You might never ever come back. And when you're in Makkah Sharif, rather than praying nafil namaz, if you came to me and said, on normal day, what should I be doing? What's my best ibadah? I'd say namaz. But when you're in Makkah Sharif, the best ibadah is tawaf.
Okay.
Because you can never do that anywhere else.
Yeah.
So do as much tawaf as you possibly can. So why are you wasting your time talking to other people? Why are you wasting your time doing that?
Take your selfies and all sorts. No, absolutely. Absolutely.
The other thing, you shouldn't turn your back on the Kaaba Sharif as well.
Okay.
And if you're taking a selfie with your back on the Kaaba Sharif the Prophet Sallallahu mosque or the Prophet Sallallahu tomb, what's all that about? You should never, because in our country, you turn your back on me. What does that mean?
Yeah, that's right.
It's not a disrespect. It's not that you're walking away. So you always don't do that.
No, absolutely. I remember when I did again Umrah as well. I was really engrossed in my tawaf. I was going around, and there was, I think, some guy from Pakistan or India. He stopped me. I thought, he needed help. He goes, okay, take a photo. And I was just about, you can make all of this. And I thought, calm.
Said no.
And I thought, you just spoiled my moment for us, but anyway,
people, it's just, that's unfortunately what Umrah has become. The problem is, close intimacy breeds that kind of stuff, doesn't it? When people went very, very, very rarely, they were really keen. Now it's become a bit of a holiday. Now it's become a bit of an excursion, unfortunately. And that's why you lose the value of it. Maybe you should always say to yourself, I'm not going to go to Umrah for 5 years or something, so that the thirst comes back, the yearning comes back. And similarly, Hajj, maybe if you know this is my only Hajj I'm going to do, potentially, then you will put all your effort into it.
Now, obviously, we've got commitments there, we've got family, you have work, you have other... Ideally, what's the ideal length of time that you should be going? Is it the minimum that you have about, maybe some people go for as little as 10, 12 days? I know when you guys went, you've probably gone for about 6 weeks or so. I know how long my father was there for. Some people go for 3 weeks. Ideally, in your opinion, if you were to sort of be able to go again, what's the ideal time that you should be going?
I would say personally 3 weeks would probably be enough.
Right. Yeah.
And why I say that is that, again, that's a personal opinion.
Sure.
Technically, the Hajj starts on the 8th of Dhul Hijjah and it ends on the 13th or 12th or 13th. So it's only a 5-day period for the Hajj itself. Now, that's going to be engrossing your Hajj. But as you're there once in a while, you want to look at the rest of Makkah Sharif, you want to spend a bit more time. And you won't actually enjoy Masjid al-Haram or the Kaaba Sharif because it's so packed at that time. So that's why you want to go a bit earlier so you can enjoy that and, spend some quality time there. You also then want to spend some quality time around Makkah Sharif. the sites there, the valleys around it,
Sure.
the Cave Hira, with all that stuff that came through. Because again, those are special places that's attached to stuff. Then you want to go to Medina. Actually, the Prophet ﷺ really stressed that hard, and the ulama stressed it, especially for us people who are going far. You can't not go to Medina. And it's famous, these people try to read 40 prayers in the Prophet ﷺ's mosque for these by the virtue of that. You don't have to. You're not sinful if you never did because you didn't have the time. But again, you want 8 days there. If you've got 8 days there, give your body time to rest as well, understand what's happening, and also to do the excursion around Medina Sharif. There's Badr, there's Masjid Quba, there's all the other mosques around there.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So you want to go there. So you want to Mr. Qiblatain where that change, you can see where it changed from. So all of those are different, and that's part of the stuff about reading. Read where all those historic spots were. There were places where du'as are accepted. There were mosques. There's Masjid Ijaba where the Prophet ﷺ dua was accepted in that place. So people after the Prophet ﷺ, such as Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, etc., they found out where did the Prophet ﷺ pray, where did the Prophet ﷺ make dua, and they built a mosque in that place. So people to landmarks, people go there and make dua in the same place.
So we've got about 10 minutes left now. So I just want to, for example, now with Hajj, unlike Umrah, you can go at off-peak times to make sure that you're not sort of too heavily surrounded or it's too busy by other sort of people that have gone to Umrah. But around Hajj as well, is there a sort of time where you can go to certain places where it's not going to be completely burdensome or sort of too busy? Or is that's just the nature of Hajj, and wherever you go,
so many people.
Wherever you go, it's going to be packed out.
Obviously, the more earlier you are from the Hajj, as people be building up, the later you stay after Hajj, it'll be winding down, so people are going back. So it is unfortunately the nature of the beast, and I don't think you're going to get a lot more ziyarats or all that stuff while you're there on Hajj, because of just how busy it will be.
And obviously, the last bit of before you take your hair off is you got to do Qurbani as well, haven't you?
Yeah.
Some packages have Qurbani included, some don't. Again, any advice around the Qurbani? And then you got to wait for the Itla as well, haven't you?
What happens that you go to Arafat on the 9th day and you stay there till after sunset.
Yeah.
Then on the 9th day you go to Zulhijjah. No, you go to Muzdalifah and you spend the night there, pray, and then you leave that and then you go back to Mina on the 10th. And then on the 10th you got a number of things to be doing on the 10th. And then so the first thing you've got to do on the 10th is that, let me just bring it up for you.
Sure.
Yeah, to show you it along in pictures. Yeah. First thing you got to do when you come out of leave Muzdalifah, you come to Mina, and you stay in Mina for 3 days. And you say the 10th, 11th, on the 10th day, the 11th day, and the 12th day. Some stays you can stay on the 13th day, and you can stay on the 13th if you want to, but you don't have to. The first 3 days, 10, 11, 12, you must stay there. We know those are 3 days of Qurbani. That's why we also call them the 3 days of Eid. Remember, we'd say that at the beginning.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But it's linked to that. So when you come back to Mina, you've got to go and stone the devil first.
Yeah.
Once you've done that, you come back. Then you wait for the Qurbani. The Qurbani's got to happen. So it has to be in that order. You've done your Ramal. You've done your Rami. You're stoning. Wait for your Qurbani, so you have to wait. Now, ideally, you need somebody who's going to do it early for you and do it properly for you. That's not the same Qurbani we do here, because that's a Qurbani of Eid, that's a Qurbani of Hajj, as a thanksgiving to Allah Ta'ala that you've done your Hajj. So you wait for the news. Once you heard that your Qurbani has been done in your name, then you can shave your hair off. Once you shave your hair off, you're out of Ihram. Put your normal clothes on.
Sure.
Then you've got to go back and do the second pillar of Hajj. The first pillar was Arafat on the 9th. The second pillar is your Tawaf as Ziyarat, so you've got to do a Tawaf.
Sure. Which
you can do the 10th, 11th, the 12th. It's the last of the 4 things you do. So after you've done your stoning, done your Qurbani, done your hair cutting, then you go and do your Tawaf as Ziyarat. A lot of people do it later, on that day, in the afternoon, after your Qurbani's been done, after they've had a shower, clean their hair up. Elderly people can do it on the 11th or 12th as there less people. Yeah. When you go on the 10th, they'll be absolutely packed. Yeah, so that's what they've got to go and do.
Yeah, no problem at all. We've got about 5 minutes left, brother, so if there's any more questions, please get them in ASAP.
On the Qurbani, find somebody who's good enough to do it.
Yeah.
And you don't need that extra aggravation or the extra burden on your mind to go and do that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely well said. Sorry, some more questions come through. Thank you. Sajid, Sajid is a legend, great personality who possesses so much knowledge. Allah subhanahu bless you always. Thank you to Sajid taking time out from his precious schedule to come onto the radio station. Stay blessed. I would highly recommend his Prophet, peace be upon him, Hajj book to all. That's great. And then someone has told me my Qurbani was not included in the package. It is an extra financial stress we could do without. Yeah, but it is what it is. Javed, don't really try to.
I think there's a better system now that there'll be places there where you can book your Qurbani from the government. So make sure you do that.
Perfect.
Make sure you find out how you're going to get the information that your Qurbani's been done.
So maybe
Until it's done, you won't be able to move on to the next stage.
Absolutely. How do you decide to pay? Okay, we are going to leave this question right to the end, but I'll let you carry on. I think you want to sort of finish off your point. It's about the prices now, but it's like someone said the prices are now like starting around 11,000-12,000 pounds, and people are thinking that maybe as COVID sort of dissipates, that prices eventually may start to settle. But
probably wrong with inflation. It's a different business model now as well. Where there's probably lack of competition now, as you've probably seen.
Yes,
because it's all centralised, so that's taking the competition out. So unfortunately, it is what it is. One thing it does do, it maybe moves a lot of people out of that bracket where it's no longer compulsory upon them.
Yeah.
But as I said earlier, if it had become obligatory upon you when you were able to afford it in the low prices, it's still obligatory upon you now because that's never gone. You should have done it then.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, you're going to have to pay what you have to pay now.
Yeah.
It is a sad state of affairs, but I'm not sure what you can do. It's more an economic question and fiscal question than a religious question.
Yeah. Do you know how many quota that the Saudi government allow the UK citizens?
I think it was a couple of thousand, maybe 3,000.
Really?
So it's very low.
Bearing in mind, there's about 3.5-4 million Muslims here in the UK. To get something like 3,500, I think that's like 0.1%. I think it is. It just sort of, it is a bit of a lottery, even though maybe
we thought maybe they may have given a higher quota because of these high income countries. We have to afford it more.
That's right.
Maybe generate more income, but
I know some people who've gone via the Pakistani route as well, just because I know it's about maybe 4,000 or 5,000 pounds.
And there's a bigger quota, so
bigger quota. But again, then you won't get the facility that obviously we're used to here.
As long as you're not telling any lies to do it, then it's fine. As long as if you're telling lies such as you're not Pakistani or there's other conditions in the form that you fill out that aren't true, then that's wrong because you shouldn't lie to get there.
Sure.
Because I haven't seen what it is, but if it is just that if you possess a Pakistani passport, you can do it. And your Pakistani address, which most people have, that's fine. But if there's any other condition in there that it does say you resident in Pakistan permanently or for most of your time and you're not, then you say yes I am to get through that system, then you should have. Because again, it's an ibadat.
That's right.
It's a worship. In Islam, the end does not justify the means. For Islam, it's all about the means. It doesn't matter whether you're successful. Like whether you end up going Hajj or not, as long as you have the intention, that's all that matters. Whether success or failure comes from Allah Ta'ala, your job is to make the effort and make the effort sincerely and properly.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, I know over the years, the Saudi government have really invested in the infrastructure. You've got now, where obviously you throw the stone for the shaitan. They've made it a one-way system. They've made it a bit more easier on multiple layers. They've also got a trail or a tram system now, the monorail system as well. So, I think, and then also, I think every about 10 years as well, they get rid of the hotels to build some new modern ones as well. So they are doing their bit. But you've been there, I think a while ago as well. Is there anything that they ought to be doing as well, just to sort of make our journey more amenable, make it easy for us?
I think the main thing is probably the food. Make sure there's a healthy option for people, especially now, people with diets, whatever, and keeping them healthy. They do provide free healthcare for pilgrims, so that as long as you've got your Hajj visa, you can get into those good hospitals, and they do bring in doctors from around the world at this particular time. But what I did find, even when I went on Umrah, is the quality of food that you're getting. Obviously, in the hotel, you might get some decent.
Sure.
You get plenty of fruit and whatever breakfast, but later on in the day, it does get a bit, especially if you're eating out. Most people are half board anyway, so you end up eating fried food, fast food, which isn't good in at the best of stage, but especially when you're trying to do ibadah, you're trying to wake up, you're trying to do things like that. So.
Would you know that hour is up?
Wow, that's really good.
Hour is up, and thank you all for your varied questions, shall I say, some that I hadn't even thought of. But again, it's better to get it out there and have someone like Brother Sajid to answer those as well. At least your heart and your mind will be in a more better state of contentment as well. I am going to invite Brother Javed when he comes back onto the studio to share his experience as well. Once again, I have this book. If anyone wants to borrow this book, the Prophet's Hajj, how the Prophet performed the farewell Hajj before they go. This is something that Brother Sajid has donated to Radio Aati Awaz, and we will then be giving it to our listeners and our viewers as well. So please do take advantage of. Brother Sajid, if you can, just I suppose within the last 30 seconds or so that we have, final sort of farewell or final sort of summary or overriding thought that you want to share with our listeners and our viewers.
I think the best thing is to make dua for ourselves, for those people who are going. Allah accepts their ibadah, accepts their hajj, and makes it easy for them, and that they make dua for us as well. We make dua for ourselves. Allah takes us there, we haven't been there, and those who have been there, Allah accepts their hajj and gives them the opportunity to go again. So I think that's probably the best thing we could say tonight.
Ameen. Absolutely. And lastly, any vaccinations that one must take before they go?
I think there are.
You have to take those. So yeah, absolutely.
Try and take them before you go.
Yeah. No, definitely. Two vaccinations. So again, I'm sure those of you that are doing it. I know before we used to have these groups that they used to do everything for you and everything, but now you got the portal and I think there's maybe even a bit of a void or people aren't sort of quite sure. So, but please, do again, as Brother Sajid said, have a sheikh or ulama that you ask these sort of questions and you're open to ask these questions. But as a final dua as well, for those of you that are departing, may Allah make it easy for you. May Allah keep you healthy during the next month or so. Please keep Radio Aati Awaz and our team and Brother Sajid as well healthy and allow us to do what we can to inform and educate and raise awareness. And inshallah, those of you that are going, when you come back, please bring some kujur, and we'd love to get you to share your experiences. Until next week, please continue to look after yourselves, enjoy the weather, and also look, even though it's warm, look after your elderly neighbours as well, see if they need anything. Until next week, God bless, take care, look after yourselves.